Welcome to Running Your Stories. I'm here today with Alison Walker, who has recently moved into the Yorkshire area and so is now actually a local runner to me. And I believe we would have met up through our mutual friend Kim if we weren't all in lockdown, and therefore staying very, very local. Been hearing a lot of things from Kim about you, Alison, and I've been really looking forward to having a chat, finding out more about your history and your motivation for what I understand to be a lot of training that you do. So welcome, Alison.
Thank you. Oh dear, what has Kimmy said?
Yeah. So yeah. As I say, heard about you from Kim, and she said that you two had been chatting online for quite a while before you managed to meet up last summer.
So one of my friends who used to be in the local running club in London, he moved up to near where Kimmy is. So when I started ultras, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to introduce you to another." Her name is Kimmy Tens. So we spoke a bit. I mean, Kimmy's a really genuine person. So we got on really well and just chat about everything and talk about training, like the types of races that she does and like types of races that I used to do. And then we seem to I think our paces are almost similar-ish on the flat. We decided to meet up this summer when restrictions eased, because I at that point was thinking about moving to Yorkshire. So I thought I'll go for a run with Kimmy, and just get to know a bit more properly, and also just find out where to run and things like that. So
how did you find the pace when you went out?
Oh, I mean, it was just like a nice gentle jog. We were just chatting all the way. None of us were pushing, so we just chatted throughout the run. I think we did bits of the Marytown loop, which I think she and you did the FKT on.
Yes, yeah, we did.
So we just did the bit by Hebden. Went up to. I think we got a bit lost as well. So, but that's not surprising for me and Kimmy combined. So we had fun on the afternoon. And I think we met up for. This was in the summer when the restrictions were quite relaxed, and we met up for pizza, Rosendale. So So, but we haven't seen each other since because of lockdown.
So would you like to hear? Because I remember when Kim told me about you two meeting up. Would you like to hear what she said to me at the time?
No.
She said, "Oh my God, she's too fast."
That's rubbish. She was much better coming down on the rocky path than me. She was waiting for me at the bottom, I think. But
she was just telling me that you were trying to run up all the hills that we would normally walk up. I think was the main point.
So my coach does not believe in walking up hills in training. Obviously, since I've moved here, especially some of the hills, especially the one just behind me, is quite steep on Hepton Store Road. I do try and run it all the time, but if a bus comes, I will let the bus pass. But I mean, hopefully it doesn't see this.
So just in case your coach is listening in, that bus comes past every 2 minutes on that hill.
I
know it well.
I mean, the Hepton Store Road, there is no pavement. Past steps walk, so you kind of have to be mindful of the traffic and just not be an idiot, basically, unless you want to get hit. So
it's interesting actually to train that way, to always run up the hills, because I had another guest on whose name will come to me in a moment, and
it's not Howard, is he?
Not Howard Dracup. No, I'm Carl. He's called. His surname will Carl Howells. So he was on talking about he's done Spartathlon a couple of times. The big ultra in Greece, which you have to be pretty fast to qualify to be able to do it. It's a fast. It's predominantly road,
Yes,
but it has the big mountain section, and Carl never runs up a hill ever, even in training.
really.
And that's his philosophy. He is a very fast walker. I'll be.
But that's the thing. I'm a very slow walker.
Right.
So
yeah.
So I know that people like Howard Jacob can walk up hills faster than I can run them. So
yeah.
There is that issue there. So
yeah. So yeah, that's why I just thought it's interesting talking about the sort of different methods that work for different people. I've got a fast walk as well, so I tend to drop to a walk more readily than some people would, because it's more efficient for me.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm the same height as Howard. We're both 6'2".
Oh, okay. So you got really long legs, and you just need to stride out, and it'll be longer than I'll run. So,
yeah, but I'm not as fast as Howard. I know that much.
I don't know. Timmy says
I've
quite
running
fast,
with him a couple of times. yeah. So that's it's very I guess a lot hillier around where you are now compared to being. Which part of London were you in before?
East London, the flattest borough. So yeah. I mean, I used to. So I initially started ultra running because I read about the Spartathlon race, and I signed up for a 100-mile race, and my aim was to qualify. Not really like understanding how quick that was or like what that involved. I just decided I was going to qualify. So so I signed up for this looped race in Sampai Ho. It's like run by really nice guys by SVN. So they do lots of like loop races and like 100 marathon club type people. So that's how it all started. And then I got a coach who I've known for years because he's like in his 70s, and before COVID, he ran a weekly track session, and he also did weekly hills in London. Okay, I don't laugh, but like the hill session there would be 1,000 feet. But it was continuous running, like you were running up and down hills, with very little recovery. I think the only recovery you got was on the downhill or running to the next hill, which I thought was really good. Saw my fitness go up really quickly. And then I'm quite an average runner. Like I don't always say like, I was never talented. Like I'm not one of these people who just turn up and just like run like a sub 3-hour marathon. It's not really me. Like I was more around the 4-hour mark, and I'm just happy just running until like I decided I wanted to do one. That kind of snowballed, and then we had 3 months to train for this 100-mile race, which wasn't a lot of time because I suffered a ligament tear in my ankle. Don't know what I was doing. Someone picked me up, and then I rolled it, and then like got it scanned, and then I think 2.5 out of 3 deltoid ligaments got like snapped. So that was like, I mean, I was training for this 100-mile race, like not really 100%. Like, I just wasn't sure like if I could finish. But it was a looped course, so I was like, well, the worst thing that could happen was if my ankle stops working, I can just go home. And the weather wasn't great. It was like, I think at one point it was 80s. I think on that weather station, because on Sampai Ho there is a weather station. The weather station said 86 miles per hour gusts, and the portaloos fell over. All sorts of stuff happened. But like, I'm quite a stubborn person, so I knew like sub 22 was in my hands, and like had all the wrong kit. At this point, I didn't know who Innovate was. I didn't know who Telemann were. I just had like a 30-pound like Ron Hill jacket. No tight seams, pissing it down rain, freezing rain, and in the end I got my Berghaus coat, like the big outdoor coat, and I just marched it for the last 15 miles. and I managed to sneak in on the 22 hours. So but I mean, it was grim. Like I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. But I knew, like, okay, if I can get the qualifying time first time, then it can't be that bad. So so then I just continued from there. Did more ultras, and but I guess for me, like, I didn't want to sign up for any like harder ultras. I wasn't going to sign up for the Spine or Arc because I lived in London at that point. And I find it quite, I don't know, I feel like I like to respect the race. Like, I don't really see the point in turning up to a race where you can't train properly and then go, oh yeah, it's really hilly, really rocky. I trained on flat London roads. Like, I don't really want to give that kind of excuse. And like, I don't really think it's like respectful for the race itself. So so I mean, I haven't really signed up to any trail ultras because of that, because I just don't like going into stuff unprepared. I think that's probably more the reason. So
sorry, before, so your Spartathlon was your motivation to go and do this qualifying pace, 100 miler, which is way faster than any 100 miler I've done. And
it was, you could run it in road shoes. You don't really need any trail shoes whatsoever. Like, I wouldn't say it was a hard 100 mile. Like, it's not the Spine Challenger. Like, it's perfectly runnable if you knew how to pace yourself.
Have you done Spartathlon?
No, so I was unlucky in the draw, because at the end of the day it's a ballot. So it's whether your name gets picked. And to be quite honest, like, I've really said to myself I wouldn't really want to do it until I got an auto qualifier, because I just can't do ballots. It's just a bit don't know what the word is, like a bit disappointing when you don't get drawn. And also, I'm not sure I want to be running on A roads. I mean, just having
talked with Carl about it, it's as long as you're okay on the tarmac, I think that there's enough of a support team and crowd and everything around that it's not kind of dangerous on the roads. He certainly never mentioned that. But the whole experience, having, because I have a really sort of big celebration dinner days afterwards and things, it does sound fantastic. It's the one big kind of road race that I keep thinking, could I really be happy on the road for that long? It sounds really good.
I mean, things like that do play on my mind a bit, but at the same time, it is a very long time on the road. Now I found Yorkshire. I'm just like, so I really want to give up running on the fells versus running along the canal, because I think that's the only kind of training that you'll be able to, you should be doing for a road race, or running on the A roads here, up Heptonstall Road 10 times or something. I mean, I've only started ultra running in 2019, so it's all new. I want to try everything. But I mean, that definitely was the thing that like really pushed me to like go into ultras. So
no, it's good to have that kind of big scary kind of dream thing to get involved with. It's what pushed me into ultras as well. For me, it was the Spine race. But I've done the Challenger twice and attempted the full Spine once. Didn't get as far as I wanted, and then ready to go again as soon as I can. But so I think the other thing that I've been told about you is that you have really sort of high mileage every week, and how do you stay motivated to put that kind of mileage in every week?
So I think, so the high mileage, my coach is old school. Like, he's in that era of you run every day, run twice a day if you can. Obviously now in lockdown you're not allowed to run twice a day, so I don't run twice a day. But it's all about like big aerobic base. His coaching style is very much like in between Percy Cerruti, you know him, and what's his name, Arthur Lydiard. So it's somewhere in between where it's like big mouth, but like quality sessions as well. Yeah. So normally we do track on Tuesday, a tempo session on Thursday, and hills on Saturday. So like runnable hills, running hard up the hill, recovery down, with no real rest. So like you don't wait for like 2 minutes before you go for the next one. It's just pretty much just relentless, up and down, up and down, up and down. And yeah, his style of coaching works for me. Yep. It probably wouldn't work for everyone because it's quite taxing on your body.
Yes.
But in terms of motivation, like I just enjoy running. It's not, for me, it's not a training plan. For me, it's, I get to go out and play. Like, because I work in tax, the desk job, every day, just looking at Excel spreadsheets. And frankly, I can't wait to like go for a run most days, or like start my day with a run, or like, just go outside and just look at something else. And like for me, it's my time where I don't look at my phone. I just go out and run. I guess I like running, and I think that's enough motivation for me. When races were around, obviously like the motivation was slightly different. Whereas now, like I've got no motivation to do any speed sessions, much to my coach's it's like, I swear, since we've moved here, it's been snowing every Tuesday. And Tuesday is short rep sessions, and I'm like, Peter, there's no way I can do any short reps from here. Also, I have to run along the canal. So no, I'm going to go up the hill where it's a lot safer, and you have less like dog walkers and things like that. So I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Like, would you rather run along the canal and get bored, or would you run up the hill on the moors and like splash around in the bogs, like find new paths? Like, I don't know. It's just
I think I'm sort of very lucky exactly where I am, because I've got there's a golf course and a couple of other things that have got some like flat trail sections on them. So if I want to go and do some sprints and things like that, I can do sort of 30 minutes gentle warm up to get there, and then I've got some sections of relatively flat, kind of vehicle tracks that I can go and do the sprints on, and then I'm keeping it all on trail. So that's, I mean, there are a couple of trails like that near you, but
I prefer not to know. I would just go, sorry, I can't do my session. I mean, I have seen those sections. But I just choose not to do it, because I mean, there are no races. Like, what is the point of trying to do 20 times 400?
Well, I think, I mean, because obviously I'm in a similar situation. The race I'm aiming for is in September, the Dragon's Back.
Right, yeah.
But I think for me, that's such a scary race that I know between now and then, my coach and I, we've divided up the time, and they're kind of like, right, this block, we'll start off working on my biggest weaknesses, which is actually speed uphill. And so that's getting me motivated, because I know although the race is a good distance away in September, hopefully it will be on in September, but it's a scary enough race that if I'm not really prepared for it, and also I've got the additional disadvantage that I can't go to Wales to train, probably until very close to the race. So I've got to try the best training I can in this area. So we'll see. Although I'm supposed to be doing the first one of those sessions tomorrow, and I think it's going to be very icy out tomorrow. because
Yeah,
it's cold out there now.
yeah.
So trying to find a hill of the right gradient that isn't covered in ice it might be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're lucky we've got Hardcastle Crags, so that's normally where I do my runnable hill reps on Saturdays, and like just an hour of just going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Yeah, and like I think I've been quite lucky because after we had exchanged on when we're in the process of buying this place here in Hebden Bridge, I suddenly remembered that one of my ex club members, Holly Page, just lives up the road.
Right.
So she's been introducing me to like the local clubs of Calder Valley Fell Runners, and she's come out for a few hill reps with us. Yeah, because it's all time based, so it doesn't really matter if she's on a different speed. So as long as we all do the same session, then it's okay. So yeah, I've been quite fortunate. So even though I can't meet Kimmy and Jeremy, I've got some other people to hang out with.
Yeah, it's a very strong club, the Calder Valley Fell Club. So yeah, you're in good hands there.
Yeah, they've got the Demon Descenders, and
I can't get near those. Yeah, that's why we do the long miles.
Yeah.
So we don't have to face up to the fear of running downhill that far.
No, exactly. Yeah, I'm not a fan of running downhill.
No, not at that speed that people do in the fells.
No, definitely not. No.
I think it must have been 2019 because 2020 things didn't happen. But 2019, I went along to the Fell Championships, and the finish on that was just a really, really steep, really muddy, slippy slope. And I was doing a leg where you run in pairs, and
the Calder Way one.
It was a similar kind of setup. This was down in Derbyshire. And my teammate James, he was shouting his head off at me to go faster down this slope.
Yeah, I get that. So the few club runs that I've been on, went out with this guy called Paul, and he was like, "That's the grip. Can't just hit your feet first, head will follow." I'm like, "No, I'm good, thanks, Paul." But I guess
Paul Clough, is it?
No, Paul Haig.
Okay.
Yeah, really nice guy. Brought us around a few times, but yeah, I guess with now it's not that easy. So I hang out with Kaz, who's an ultra runner, and she brings me around all these moors, and she's like, "Oh yeah, this is normally quite boggy." It's like you put your foot in, it's like, oh, sunk. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, as long as you enjoy the bogs, you're in the right place for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just different, isn't it? It's just different terrain. You just kind of have to adapt. Yeah.
So, how are you adapting to it? If you getting any injuries, any niggles?
No, I'm generally quite good with injuries. I do my SNC once a week. I try and listen to my body. So, like, if something's not quite right, like you just take the gas off it. I mean, touch wood, I haven't actually been injured since 2019. So I've had niggles, but they're things like, they're mostly like tendinopathy things that will never go away because of my high mileage, but they never bother me when I'm running. It's mostly to do with work because I sit down like, when you're desk based. So I've got a standing desk now, but you can't stand all day. So sometimes when I sit down, like, you can start feeling like high hamstring. So it's not really running related. But you just kind of have to live with it, because when I run it doesn't hurt, so the physio was like, it's fine, carry on.
Yeah, I had a conversation like that with my coach. We were doing an online strength and conditioning session, and one of the kind of strange issues I have, which is just something in my body, if I'm doing straight arm planks or anything like that, it always hurts my wrists because my hand doesn't bend back very far, so it starts hurting. It's always been the same. I keep trying to work on it. It doesn't really change. And and then she was actually telling me off for not telling her that I was in pain. I said, but it's only my wrists, it doesn't affect my running, I don't care. It's just, who cares?
Yeah.
If it doesn't affect my running, it'll be okay. So yeah. So how about, because I hear your other hobby is baking and cooking.
Oh yeah. Kimmy can't eat any of the food though. She's vegan.
So just if you can bake a nice cake for Kimmy, and because she can't eat it, just send it to me.
Amelia Grace will have it.
Well, I can take care of it as well.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. When lockdown ends, yeah.
It's no problem. Yes, but I hear that you've got your fueling really worked out, like when you did your Smog Graham Round.
Yeah, McDonald's, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if your body craves something, I never deprive it.
Yeah.
I probably, if somebody looks at my diet, they will probably think, oh, this girl's got issues. But I mean, it's calories at the end of the day, and like I don't really have health problems. I mean, apart from there's one issue last year with a bit of overtraining because running was the only thing I could control. And trying to race too quickly after smog. Even then, the blood tests were showing like, oh yeah, your vitamin D levels are like really high. Like, don't take any supplements. I mean, obviously, with female athletes, you always have to take iron. But apart from that, like nobody, the lady was like, your diet's fine. You have a bit more fish because it's anti-inflammatory. But apart from that, just continue eating. If you want to eat McDonald's, eat McDonald's.
I've kind of tried. I mean, I think I came at things from a slightly different point of view. That before I started running, which was only around 2017, 2018.
That's quite recent.
Yeah, I was quite unhealthy. I wasn't really unhealthy, but I was becoming more and more unhealthy. I was drinking too much. I was traveling a lot with work. I was overweight, not hugely overweight, and most people couldn't notice because I'm so tall, but I was definitely overweight, and I was probably kind of pre-diabetic. I was certainly going in that direction. And so I've kind of found for myself, I've had to be a lot more focused on the nutrition side to then allow my running and my fitness to develop. Now that it's all developed, actually, I'm less strict now with my diet than what I have been for the last certainly the last 2 years. And I'm completely fine with it, as you say. You just when you're kind of fit and healthy, your body can take it a bit more, and
exactly.
It's difficult because the people that most need the stricter diet are the people that are furthest away from it. And I've kind of been through it the hard way, been on sort of very strict diet for a couple of years, and now actually I find I don't need to be as strict. So it's now I can just more focus on eating, trying to get more performance. Not quite, eating for performance, because I'm not that fast. So.
I mean, like I do things like, most of the time I try and take like magnesium before I sleep, because apparently it's really good for you. It's helps you sleep well, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, like I'd rather eat proper food. So like, I mean, my diet is quite balanced. I just eat a lot of it, but it is balanced. And you really shouldn't be relying on like pills and supplements.
No, I agree. The only supplements that I sometimes take at this time of the year, cod liver oil capsules, because the fish oil is always good. For the omega-3s, but then it's also got vitamin D in it, because while there's so little sunlight at this time of the year, it's hard to get enough vitamin D. But it's only in the winter that I ever kind of feel the need for that, and it's because I can sometimes find that my mood starts to drop, and then start taking some vitamin D and it comes up again.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Vitamin D, it's known as the happiness vitamin. And
Right, okay.
there's no known way, side effect of having too much. They've used it in some medical trials recently, to trial the effect it would have on COVID. And because there's no side effect, they gave some people on COVID wards. This was up in, I think, the Royal Victoria Infirmary in Newcastle. They gave people massive overdose, or what would be considered like a massive dose of vitamin D, and there's no side effects. There's no problem with that, and it helped with the COVID. Didn't cure it, but it helped. So yeah, there's vitamin D is the one thing that I kind of have in mind. I eat a lot of fish these days, so I used to take those capsules for the fish oils, but I tend to eat. It's my normal lunch as a salad with a tin of fish, sardines or mackerel or tinned salmon. Pretty much every day. So I think I'm getting those things. so yeah. But other than that, I completely agree. I don't take supplements. Don't feel the need.
It's just pill popping, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't go in for it. Same as actually, I don't use gels. I've never liked gels.
Oh, do you not? For me, I use gels because sometimes I cannot be bothered to eat, so I just go.
Yeah, but the thing I found that actually again from our mutual friend Kim is the Voom bars, which they're a bar, but they're probably for me they're easier to eat than a gel, because they taste good and they go down as easily as a gel. So that's my equivalent of a gel.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason why I now like kind of long, harder runs, is because then I get to eat my favorite foods. Those foods are really, like, if you were going to eat energy gels while you sat in front of the telly, that's really bad for you.
Yeah, I've not tried that one.
No, well, no. I mean, that's the thing about them tasting bad, isn't it? But when you get onto the Voom bars that have this basically same effect on your body as a gel, but it tastes really good as well, then it is tempting to sit at home and eat them.
I'm a gel person, unfortunately, because it's just easy. Especially when it's cold, you just go and then you're done. Like, rather than trying to like chew. Especially last weekend when it was absolutely bolting on the tops. It's just. I mean, I don't think I even had any gels because it's so cold. Just had to keep moving. So. Yeah,
well, that's something. If you do start to move towards races like the spine, you've then got to try and find how to make yourself eat in those kinds of weather conditions.
Yeah.
Because the race is so long that you can't not eat.
No, exactly.
You'll have a very poor performance if you do.
I'll find some McDonald's on the way.
I'm not sure there's any en route. There's usually a burger van.
Burger van, that would do.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with some nice burgers from some grass-fed beef. That's one of my favourites. But yeah, I saw pictures on your Facebook page of some of your Malaysian cooking as well, and that looks amazing. I've only had, I think, 2 trips to Malaysia.
That's more than many people, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic place. Whereabouts in Malaysia are you from?
So I live in the town just between Singapore and Malaysia. So I live in Johor. So
okay. Yeah, so I've been to Singapore as well. So I had one trip that was like into Kuala Lumpur and then drive from there to the factory that we were visiting. And then I've had a trip to Penang.
Yeah, that's a nice place.
Yeah, it is nice there. And then I've had a trip to Singapore as well.
So we just live on the border. So we go to school in Singapore because it's slightly better over there. The
thing I liked about Singapore was
very clean.
Very clean. You can walk everywhere. Like when I go on business trips to the US, it's difficult to walk everywhere because it's built for cars, and so like from my hotel I can see like a sort of kind of a shopping mall kind of place less than a mile away, and it's really hard to work out the route to walk because there's no sidewalks on the main roads and things. But in Singapore, There's proper walking routes everywhere. It's really good.
Except that it's really hot. I generally don't walk in there.
Yes.
I get on the public transport or get cab. I'm a bit fragile in the heat.
So am I. I think I had sort of, I don't know, 4 hours or something spare before I needed to go to the airport to fly back to Europe. And when you're going to be on a flight for 10 or 12 hours, then I need to walk before that.
No.
But yeah. But yeah, I'm surprised what I've heard you saying about preferring the cold to the hot.
I enjoy these temperatures. Like, I've got no issue wearing shorts. Like, it's fine. Just when it gets really hot, I just can't. I just melt.
Yeah.
But I guess when I was at home, I never ran. I never did anything outdoors. So just never not really acclimatized to that kind of temperature and trying to run. So I don't really. It's weird. It is weird, but by the same time, like, I guess you're always best conditioned to what you're training in. I guess it's always cold here, so.
Your body certainly. I think over time you can get used to any conditions. It's always that question of time, which is why, when I've done some of these work trips traveling around the world, and then you try to go for a run, it's really difficult.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you give me time back at home, maybe a year or something, then probably I'll get used to it. But if you're only going back for 2 weeks, it's a big jump in temperature and a big jump in humidity as well. So by the same time, if you take somebody out of Malaysia and bring them here, they probably wouldn't be running up the tops. Like, they probably end up with hypothermia and calling the mountain rescue. So, I guess it's hard for both ways, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. It's the change. So talking of change, so you've recently moved up to Yorkshire from London. Any plans to go back to London?
No, I get asked this question a lot. They always think that after COVID I'll be moving back. Unfortunately, that's not. I think initially we did think, maybe it's like, when all this is over, you'd be attracted back to London. But for me, a few years ago, we discussed this, and we thought, you know what, like, we feel trapped in London. Like, you kind of have to work in London, pay off your mortgage in London, and then you're kind of trapped in that whole circle where, but my job, I can only do it in London, and then you just never leave. It's not because you want to be there; it's just because you're stuck. So when COVID happened, I felt really trapped in London. Like, I think claustrophobic was probably the best word for it, because suddenly everyone decides they want to exercise and they just walk across the entire pavement of the park that's just outside, which normally you don't get anyone before COVID. I mean, great that people want to exercise, but don't walk across the entire pavement. And then it's just, you have to take the tube to go somewhere else. And I'm asthmatic, so I refuse to take any COVID related risks. Like, I mean, I could have flown home, but I didn't want to get COVID on the plane, because the reports that you hear of what it does to your lungs, and running such a big part of me, I don't really want to lose it. And then they introduced the congestion charge to £15. So even if you wanted to go into town, drive into town, so you don't take the tube, it's just all a bit. And then there's Epping Forest, but Epping Forest is tiny. You run a whole lap around it, and it's only 10 miles, and it all looks the same. It all feels the same. Not much elevation. You could wear road shoes, and it's just once you've been to Yorkshire, it's just never quite feels the same anymore.
So have you been to the Lake District in Scotland yet?
Well, I went to the lakes once, because went there for photo shoot at Innovate, and then we stayed there for a few days, met up with Howard and Maggie. And I love it there, but it was a bit harder than here.
Yes.
I mean, unless you want to run the Dales Way every day, which is pretty flat, it's pretty hardcore running, like it's proper flow running. And I feel like if we had tried to move to the lake straight away, I think it would be a bit, it might put me off running, I think, because everything's so hard.
Yeah, it is.
Whereas it's like baby step first.
Yeah. I love going there. Ideally, it would be like once a month. I'd go up there and run for a weekend, and then come back and recover a bit, and then go again. Because
the running there is quite brutal. Like it's not just elevation; it's also the terrain. Like it's not easy.
Yeah, I did the Lakeland 100 in 2019. It's my feet have never been so sore, as you say. It's like rocky and my feet were wet from the start, because at the start it was about 26 Celsius and we started on the Friday evening, so my feet were wet with sweat because it's so warm. And then it started raining about, I don't know, for 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on the Saturday morning, and it just continued raining till the finish on Saturday evening, and it's just wet the whole time. But it was great fun. It was one of the best events I've done.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like people always rave about the Lakeland 100 races.
Yeah. So what's your plans for racing? Have you got anything booked? Anything in mind?
Well, I've got the last one standing booked for June.
Okay, which one?
It's in Suffolk. It's like it's one of these formats where you're given an hour to finish 4.12 miles on loop, and then the winner of the race is the last person standing. So yeah, I mean, it was one of the formats that really piqued my interest 2 years ago, and I did a virtual last one standing around Victoria Park. Oh, just a bit grim. Yeah, I think I managed 26 hours, but it's really hard to like virtually race when it's not a race. So I think it's 110 miles. It felt like, I think with the last one standing events, like you have to get to 24 hours in one piece. And I think I managed to. So like you have to be very disciplined in walking and stuff. So yeah, I like to give it a go in real life to actually like compete, see how far I can go. And apart from that, there's not much in the diary really. Like I'm quite hesitant in signing up for anything else, because I used to think that I'll be one of these like people who just run in circles like forever. But since moving up here, like I don't really, the terrain is not really the type of place that you could train to run in circles. And quite honestly, like there's so much more Yorkshire has to offer than to be running in circles on the canal. So I'm just trying to get myself used to the terrain and like, you know, being a bit more comfortable with the underfoot. Then
it might be worth considering some of the something like the hardmores. Yeah, exactly that, because they're not very technical.
I have looked it up, but I'm just a bit scared.
No, you'll be fine. I've done this Hardmore 60 twice.
I think they're sold out. There's only the 160 left.
Yeah, so do the 160. You'll be fine. The 110 looks good, which is the 60 plus a bit. I've done the 80 as well. The Hardworld's 80. That's good. But yeah, that's the Hardmore's 60 was my first like 60-mile race. And I think it was a good choice. Although I had already done the Spine Challenger by then, because
seems to be the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah, it should have been the other way around. But that was on track to being in good shape on my second Challenger. Doing the Hardmore 60 on the way to it, I was definitely a better way around. So yeah, I would
like to do the Spine at some point. Not just kind of like to give it the respect it needs. I think it's
Yeah, but I think
especially in January, the weather here is
yeah.
very
I was just thinking about what Sabs would say, Sabrina Vergy.
she's a legend.
Yeah, her usual response with that kind of thing is just carpe diem. Yeah, just seize the day. Just have a go.
I know, but she's also very good. Like, whereas I grew up in Singapore, where the concrete is perfect, and like the version of cross country is pavement, and you're like, right, and then here you go, have a go more, have a go, like puddle, 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 and then walk. Then you just sink in, and you're like, okay, going up the standing stones. Oh, I just lost my foot. Great. So yeah, I mean, I am aware of the terrain. Aspect. I don't think distance scares me. Well, the distance scares me, but not as much as the terrain. So
yeah. So I mean, I was kind of similar getting into that kind of racing as well. And one of the things that definitely helps is doing some of the local short fell races. The terrain
downhill.
The terrain on those is terrifying.
Yeah.
But then when you come to the bigger race where the terrain is not so severe,
yeah,
it certainly helped me, because I'm trying to think there's one that's so Hebden Bridge. You would like that one, because you start off in
Hebden 22.
I haven't done the Hebden 22. No, you should, like I say, the shorter, faster ones. They're the ones that'll get you used to the terrain, because that's so Hebden Bridge. You run from a pub in Hebden Bridge, or from a park actually, up to Studley Pike, and it pretty much straight line, and then slightly different straight line back down again.
Oh right.
And it's I think 6 miles in total.
Okay, because I know the Calder Valley South Camp, the Calder Valley Handicap Race. You go up Studley from Mythenroyd, up a straight line and back down the straight line.
There's quite a few, but they're obviously all these races are off at the moment because of COVID. But when these races are on, they're really good for just scaring yourself, because you just do them some of them on an evening in the summer.
Yeah,
and they just go along with a bunch of friends for a couple of hours and scare yourself, and then go and do something else.
I mean, I've had a go at the Hebden Store 15 and the Hebden 22.
Yeah.
Hard work, because I think it was quite wet. It's just but I mean, you just have to get used to it, don't you? It's just practice.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. There's a bunch of them that I've done up there. I haven't done.
There's loads around here.
Numbers. Yeah.
There's the Haworth Hobble as well. I think that's very runnable. Looking at the map.
Yeah, well, Kim and I ran the Haworth Hobble route the last time we ran together.
She hated you for that.
The weather wasn't very nice.
I remember her saying, "I'm never running the Kev again."
Yeah. I don't know why, but we seem to get really epic weather. We did a run from Edale to Marsden. It's about a year and a half ago now, in the sort of not November, just gone, the one before, and it was she was wanting to have a look at sort of part of the Spine route. And we came to one. It's usually a really small stream with some stepping stones, and it was a raging torrent that Kim looked at it and said, "I'm not crossing that." And so we started crossing it together, and in the end, I had to throw her the rest of the way across because she couldn't get across.
Oh no!
Yeah. So
that goes behind my house. Like, it literally just goes behind.
All right. Yeah, I know exactly where you are then.
Yeah. So I'm keen to do that at some point.
So I know the race director of the Haworth Hobble, Gary. He's a good friend of mine.
Oh right, yeah. It's off this year though, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's off this year. It's been cancelled.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But
because I thought that would be quite a nice race for me, because it's fairly runnable-ish.
Yeah, it's all runnable. I would say.
Not fell.
Yeah, because as well, because some of it follows the very close to the Pennine Way or on the Pennine Way.
Yeah.
But then it actually takes slightly different tracks, and the
Yeah.
Haworth Hobble route is more runnable than the
Yeah.
Pennine Way tracks
Yeah.
in those places. So yeah, it's a good route. It was a good day out. Actually, when I did that with Kim that day, I'd run to meet her, and then I ran back to my car as well. So I made it up to 50 miles.
Oh, wow.
It was
It's
a
a
good
long
day
run.
out. Yeah.
Very
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely need to get you on some of these, and the Calder Valley Club will get you on some of the local.
Yeah, I don't think I've got much of a choice. I think I just get told like, oh, doing this, because I think the first run I did with them, we went for a dip in a reservoir on Boxing Day in London, and it's like, guys, this is not normal. And I was frozen, and they were just like, oh yeah, just running down the hill. It's like,
yeah,
they're all a bit nuts, I think, in the Calder Valley.
Yeah, it's good. It's a really, really good club, and I've said this to a lot of people. I would consider joining that club, but I'm actually from Newcastle in the northeast of England.
I think they've got Newcastle people.
Yeah, but my football team plays in black and white stripes.
Oh no!
Our biggest rivals wear red and white stripes.
Oh.
So I cannot join a club whose vest is red and white. I would never be able to wear that vest.
Oh no! I'll tell Paul. I'll send you back.
Yeah, they need to change their vest if I would ever join that club. But it's a really great club. I know quite a few people in the club. It's
yeah, it seems to be the mini Innovate Club as well, because I think Ben Malmsey and Chris Holdsworth, and someone called Peter Maskimar was.
Yeah,
it's really funny because there was an Innovate blog post, and then the Calder Valley guy was like, "They realize 4 of them are all PDF." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, but there are other brands available.
Oh, not sure.
Yeah. So no, it's sounding really good. I guess a good question to ask would be, having sort of, or in some ways, I guess you're still in the transition from flatter running onto the hillier running. Is there any advice that you would offer to somebody that was looking to make that transition?
Cover up your watch. Like, seriously, just cover up your watch. I mean, yeah, you see some really top-notch runners running around some of the segments just behind Hepton Road, and you think, wow, because like, I mean, I thought, man, I ran up Hepton Road in like 12-minute miles, and like my calves are killing me. But then when you look on Strava, sometimes you look at the segments and then you see, oh, actually, people like Holly Page was running at 10-minute miles, and like other like really fast men were running at like 8:30s. So actually, pace doesn't really matter. It's all about like, I don't know. I guess it's very easy for somebody who's coming from the flat running to look at people's paces here and go, man, all these people are really slow. Like, I can easily beat them. But then actually, they haven't looked at things like the underfoot and how, and like the gradients and things like that. And even the underfoot here, every day it changes. So like Hepton Normal, the first time I ran it, it was just like, nice little muddy bits with some puddles. And then the next time I ran it, it was ice. And the next time I ran it was snow. And then it just changes every time I run it. So yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter like what your watch says. Like, it's kind of, I know it sounds really bad because I'm like part of chorus. It just when you live here, it doesn't really matter unless you're running along the flat. Like, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I really agree with that, and it also reminded me that from what you've been sort of saying while we've been chatting, I think the reason I do think you'll be very successful at the long races that you might be aiming for in the next couple of years is the most important thing that you've said is that you're really stubborn, because actually you don't have to run fast at all ever in these long races. I mean, I was out with Sabrina on her Pennine Way FKT in the summer. I was out sort of towards the end of our first day, the first afternoon, and then on the third day in the afternoon as well. And she didn't go fast ever on the whole thing, yet put in, you know, a really, really impressive time. And it's actually, when you're getting into the longer ultras, it's more about sort of saving yourself and not smashing it. Then, of course, you get those fast people, and you know, I know some of those people that run up Heptonstall Road in those really fast paces, and they can do it every day. And if they can motivate themselves to maintain that over the really long distances, they'll set another level of pace altogether. So yeah, it's interesting. I think you can go, and I'm sure you will go a long way doing exactly what you're doing now. As you say, don't worry about what the watch says, just keep moving.
Yeah, because it's so easy to just, I don't know, which is part of the reason why I'm barely on Strava, because one, I don't really want to feel pressured into running faster than I should.
Yeah.
And two, I really honestly, I do not care about segments, and yeah, I don't really care about what people think about my paces about running up here, because I mean, why don't you try it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just kind of, yeah, I think it's just being honest with yourself when you run, like, and I think that's the most important thing. Like, if you're supposed to push and you're pushing, but the pace is really slow, then oh well, there's not much you can do about it. And if you're meant to run easy, cover up the watch and just run.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good advice, as you say. The train is so variable, because I kind of prefer not looking at the watch while I'm running, but then I do love looking at the data afterwards and putting it on Strava, because I guess I'm kind of lucky. I'm not bothered about like it doesn't change the way I run at the time. Now I look at it later and I think some of the runs I've done in the last couple of weeks, I'm thinking, I thought I was really, you know, I felt good that day. I felt fresh. I thought I was going really fast, but it's not as fast as what I've done before. But then I look, and when I've done the faster time, it was in the middle of summer and it was dry.
Yeah,
and it was
exactly.
like you say, it was like a hard track, whereas now it's soft and boggy and there's snow and ice, and actually to get anywhere near that summertime, these conditions is really fast. It's really good. So it's
whereas now the ground here is sodden, like and the ice is just keeping everything in. It's just when it starts to melt, all of it just goes, and you're like, I mean, the only one that I do look at my watch is hill reps, because that's consistent. Hardcastle Crags does not change, and that's just, and I measure it not by my watch, but how far am I behind Holly. So it's just kind of, it's always nice to have someone to chase. We're quite lucky that we can still run with one person.
No, it is good. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fast people around here. So I don't think there's any shortage of people to chase.
I'm always behind. Like, I'm always used to it, because even in London, I used to be training with like lots of really fast guys. Like, but it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you're putting in the effort that they are putting in, it doesn't really matter where you are in the pack. Like, as long as everybody's pushing hard, at the end of the day, you've done the same session. So
that's right. It's absolutely what you were just saying earlier about being honest with yourself, because if you're doing a session, let's say where the session is to do a moderate run, but you're running hard to keep up with somebody, then you haven't done a moderate session. You've done a hard session, and that's not honest with yourself. There's no nothing to be proud of that you kept up with that person. If you were supposed to be doing a moderate session, you should do a moderate session, and that's because it's only fairly recently that I've started using a coach, and it's a thing I found with the coaching is actually, and the coaching style of my coach is very different to yours. My coach is a lot more about more recovery, and I feel more rested than I've felt for the last 2 years. But I'm then able to do hard sessions and really push myself, because when I was training myself, I was kind of mixing up the two methods. Which is always danger when you've read 3 or 4 different books and you're not quite sure which one to believe. Whereas the different coaches, they know either do this like you're doing, where it's really high mileage and it's really kind of continuous, but at the same time, between yourself and your coach, you obviously have that right balance of listening and looking after yourself. Otherwise you'd be injured all the time. You'd have overtraining syndrome. So it's clearly working, and then, like I say, a different style is with more rest and recovery, and then pushing hard to get adaptations to happen and allow the body to recover, and that adaptation come in there. And I'm finding it interesting. It's still relatively early days. It's only, I think, October I started with the coach.
Takes about a year to get used to coach.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm used to it in that I'm in the flow. That when I get getting the next week's training plan, it's kind of not a surprise, and I kind of, okay, yeah, that's a good session, and you know, I understand what's happening with it all now. But without races, I don't actually know where I'm at. Until I can get out there and race and really test myself. But yeah.
And I mean, like, I guess, so my husband's also being coached by the same coach, but he never gets asked to do more mileage than I do, because this coach used to see us in person, so he knows where everybody's breaking point is.
Yes.
And I think he just works on that actually. I can't do X, so we won't make him do as high mileage or as much, but it's just kind of, but at the moment he's just free and easy. He's like, just don't kill yourself, do a few sessions when you feel like it, but most importantly, it's getting used to the terrain. So because I mean, it wasn't really that long ago, if you look at the timeline of when my injury was, and when I broke those ligaments, I refused to even run on grass. So, and that was really only 2.5 years ago. So suddenly go from that to trying to run on the moors here, it's quite a lot for my brain to take in. So I think he's just saying, like, you know, even though you feel ready, just give yourself a bit more time. So no rush anyway, so just chill out.
As you say, your body adapts and it learns. Something interesting that somebody told me, and I have fact checked it. It is right that like your feet have neurons in them, like brain cells, and so your feet actually learn how to fire the muscles themselves and react to the terrain, and that takes time. That can't. You know, you can, like I say, my way of speeding up that process is to go on more technical terrain and do some fast races, short, fast ones. Kind of, it's a way of kind of forcing that forwards a bit. But we're in time now, because there's a friend, a lady from I'm in Stainland Lions running club, and she's going to do the Lakeland 50, which will be her first sort of properly off-road ultra. Hopefully it'll be on in July, and she's trying to get quickly used to this more technical terrain. She's done some trail marathons and things, but nothing really technical. And we're running along having a chat, and I'm looking at things on the horizon and talking about things in the distance, and she's staring at her feet the whole time.
It's me.
It's just practice. It comes, and you know, I'm nowhere near any of the fast fell racers. That you know, it's when I get onto that kind of technical, especially the steep descents, I'm staring at my feet the whole time.
Where some of these guys, they just go, and you're like, where do you even see where your feet? And they're like, no, don't worry about it. The quicker your feet move, the more you can't fall. Like. But it doesn't make any sense to me, guys.
I mean, I've seen it in motion and practiced it and moving towards it. It's one of the interesting stats that I do have from Strava. If I go back 2 years and look at my cadence, or my steps per minute, and look at it now, I've increased it at least 30%, maybe 40%. And I have less injuries. I'm faster on technical terrain. I had to make a really conscious effort just to take more steps. And I do a thing, I call it in my head, I call it crazy feet. That when I get on a technical descent, I try to just go as many steps as I possibly can. Like just really, it must look crazy feet with my long legs. And it definitely works. It is more stable.
Yeah, and I try to do that all the time, but it does take time. Like I think a lot of it is in your head, like just trying to reprogram what's in your head. Yes. But it takes time. Just have to try and enjoy the process.
So yeah, it's great fun.
Yeah.
There's a trail that I like to kind of practice that on. It's not too far from you. It's certainly within a sort of a long run kind of distance. It's part of the Calderdale Way, or you start off on the Calderdale Way, and then it kind of branches off from that. If you're on the Calderdale Way going from the start of it over the moor there, Norland Moor, then you go past the farm and you drop down. And you start going down, then you take a left on the Calderdale Way. If you go straight down that track, it ends up being almost Lakeland-like and how rocky it is and reasonably steep. And I keep looking out for those little bits of trails that are remotely similar to the lakes where I can practice that kind of descent. And so yeah, that's one of the places I always like to practice my crazy feet.
One day I'll bear that one in mind.
It's good fun. Except I think I've been running too much with Kim lately. I've started her bad habit of falling over.
Oh no! I think I fall at least once a week here, but it's nothing. Like it's mostly because of the snow. Because like you don't know what the depth is, and then you like fall in really deep because of the drift, and then you just go oof, and you're like, oh well, never mind.
Yeah, that's usually not so bad. It doesn't usually hurt. The worst one I had wasn't actually running. Recently, I was sledging with my children.
Oh no!
One of my kids wiped me out, and I think I did a full circle in the air and landed on my left arm, and I think I was very lucky not to break it. It's still sore. So yeah, so it's all good fun. The last running fall that I had was been running by this time for about 4 hours on trails, and there was literally like a farm road that I had to cross to go to the next part of the trail. Yeah. As I stepped onto that, it was a sheet of ice, and
that always happens.
All the trails, the steep bits, everything's fine, but yeah.
And Haver's Old Road, that's the other one that's always that's where I've stepped. You know where you come down as you're coming out of Haworth and you go up the old road.
Yes.
Where there are lots of like rocks and stuff, and then it's usually all wet, and then it's frozen over. So even if you try and like place your feet on the rocks on the ice, you just go like. So yeah, not much you can do about it.
No. You just got to try and bounce back up again and get going and keep.
Yeah, otherwise you get cold.
Yes. Yeah, I'll maybe invest in some yak tracks or something.
Oh no, I've actually just tried out my new shoes today. They're the Orok 270 from Innovate.
Right.
And I could run on sheet ice this morning.
Right.
So
this sounded. Which model were they again? Sorry.
The Orok 290s. I think they're orienteering shoes, but they've got like little studs on them.
Nice.
Like metal studs.
Yeah.
They seem to work quite well. I think this is like the perfect kind of conditions where there's a little bit of ice, a bit of snow.
Yeah.
there's not too much pavement, because otherwise it just sounds like, you know,
Yes.
cross-country bike on pavement. It just sounds like.
Yeah.
So yeah, but otherwise it's been really good. So
Yeah. Cool.
cool.
Right. Well, thanks very much, Alison, for your time.
No worries.
And having a chat. It's been really good learning a bit about your history and your racing plans. And
No plans.
hopefully we'll all be able to meet up before too long. And
Yeah.
certainly, if you start running like from Studley Pike south on the Pennine Way, once you get near the motorway, that's kind of like my backyard, all that area.
Was that like towards Gaddings Dam, or was it the other way around?
Just a bit further. So if you're going along the Pennine Way, you go towards Gaddings Dam, and then you turn left. There's kind of like a big corner there, and then you go past go towards the White House pub.
Oh yeah, I've gone past that before.
Yeah, and then past there, then that's really into sort of my backyard, down that way.
Oh, so that's not too far away.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not far away.
No, you're not far at all.
Yeah, I mean, I've run to Gaddings and swam and ran home again before.
Oh, have you seen the cows in Gaddings?
Seen the what? Sorry.
The cows in Gaddings Dam.
The coals.
The cows.
Oh, the cows.
Yeah.
No.
I'll send you a picture later, and then right. you think twice about swimming in there.
Well, I went there actually with my family a couple of years ago, because there is kind of like a beach area there and things.
Yeah, the highest beach in Britain apparently.
Yeah, and at the other side of the dam there was a naked man. Just sat there sunbathing naked. It was not a pretty sight. So yeah, you do see some interesting things when you go there.
Well, I guess you're near the Hebden Bridge. Everything goes here, so
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, as I say, might bump into you up there sometime, or
yeah, I'm sure we'll cross paths at some point.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much, and keep enjoying the bogs. Really, that's what you've got to keep enjoying up here.
Never-ending bogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks, Alison.
Thank you.
Thanks.